some motivation to ensure that this talk is not just between us, but with all of you as well. I know this is the first session after probably 2 hectic days and probably out of the main venue, but an important topic. So Ashok Chandra was supposed to be the moderator. He had to skip out today, and I have to fill it up. So bear with me if I look unprepared, but I do have some notes to refer, and then I know each one of them, so we'll have a discussion and involve you as well as we move forward. Right? So today's session, what we have titled is through the ISA. ISA is India Electronics and Semiconductor Association. It's the voice of the industry, government, and academia together to ensure that the semiconductor is moving forward in the country, whether it's policies, talent, the ecosystem creation, the membership needs, the government initiatives, the academia focus, and all of that comes together at this platform called ISA. And we ensure that we represent ourselves in the events, but also take back the learnings and the outcomes as form of initiatives and drive those forward from these sessions onwards. The topic that was suggested was AI for scale, driving adoption, productivity, and market access for Indian MSME and startups. From the last 2 days, at least, I have been part of the event here. I've been saying that there's a lot of discussion on saying, like, AI scale specifically and deployment. That's what we have been, because for few years we have been talking about the models, the data, the compute, and all of that. But we started looking at that, how do we move from the prototype or benchmark into pilots, into actual deployment and use case. And especially if you look into the India ecosystem, how do we leverage for the startups and MSMEs so that it helps them to proliferate as well as create efficiency, do more automation, and maybe take to the scale. So that's the topic that we have. I have 4 distinguished speakers along with me here. We'll do a quick round of introduction, and then we have some questions, and then we'll come back to you as well. I'll start with me. My name is Naveen. I work for Marvel Semiconductor. I'm also the vice chairperson for ISA, based out of Bangalore, primarily focused on fabless chip design, working on data centers, AI, networking, and enterprise silicon. And I'm happy to be here. Anand, could you just introduce briefly about what you do, and how do you connect with this topic?
Good morning, everyone. Glad a few of you could make it today. My name is Anand. I head Applied Ventures. Applied Ventures is the corporate venture arm of Applied Materials. We are one of the largest semiconductor and display equipment maker in the world, roughly around 250 to 300 billion market cap company. We have been investing globally in the deep tech sector for the last 20 years. That's the only thing we have been investing in. We don't invest in food delivery apps or dating websites. We have been hardcore focused around semiconductor, deep tech, materials science, physics, chemistry related topics. We are pretty driven towards the topic is pretty important for us, because we are working on the whole, how do we bring AI, what does AI mean from a startup perspective and small, medium businesses, how does it affect it? And the second part of it is, how do you enable the AI at scale, which is the topic for today. So looking forward to the discussion with the team here.
Thank you. Sandeep?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sandeep Gupta. I'm part of, just like Naveen, I'm his colleague at IESA, which is India Electronics and Semiconductor Association. I'm also the VP Central R&D team at AlphaWave and Managing Director for AlphaWave, but now we're part of Qualcomm. I've been in the tech industry or rather the semiconductor industry for the last 27 years, working on various things, but now building chips for AI. So we, and just like Naveen, we are the ones who are enabling all the AI ecosystem around the world. On this particular topic, I should confess that I'm not an expert, especially on the manufacturing side, but yes, my friends do have industries, and I've talked to them a lot about this, and so I do have some perspective. on how AI can be adopted. My bottom line is it is imperative that we have to adopt AI even in the manufacturing sector at a large scale. And we'll talk more about it as we go along.
Thank you. Jyotish?
Sure, yeah. This is Jyotish Indira Pai. I am the CEO and co-founder of SME Private Limited. This is a fabulous semiconductor company based out of Trivandrum. We build a Edge AI chipset, primarily targeting on-device and on-premise computing, Edge AI. And we are actually building surveillance chips as well as AI MCUs, targeting activities like surveillance, robotics, drones, and all. This topic is extremely dear to us because our focus is bringing AI onto edge, making it private, like data security and all those things are being addressed in our designs. So, and also making sure that it's not a cloud-centric, rather than it could be a device-centric and premise-centric is our approach. We'll get into that in more details in the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Preet?
Hey, good morning. My name is Preet Yadav. I work for NXP Semiconductors. I'm based out of Delhi NCR. Glad to be part of this panel today, and thanks to the dear colleagues here. Why AI is important to us? I'm head for NXP India Innovation Ecosystem, and when we talk about innovation, I think AI is on the top of it. It's like AI is like air; it's everywhere. Okay, so directly, indirectly, it is impacting each one of us as individual or as businesses. So, as Jyotish mentioned, that it's not only at the cloud, AI at the edge. That's where NXP is really, I would say, driven about or serious about. So we'll talk more during the panel today. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. So since this is an AI week, and I was reading the paper today, some statistics from Times of India today morning, right, that the AI deployment that we are talking about, some of the statistics across men versus women, it's much more deployed in men versus women, almost a 10%, 10 points difference in different professions. Even if we go into different professions, some of the professions where it's most deployed, obviously the software development engineering and some of the, the content generation, it's been pretty heavily deployed. Almost like 70% of the people says that, hey, I'm using some form of AI to develop that. And do you know what's the least deployed one? Financial advisors. Somewhere around 20%. And another accountant or auditor, again, another 36% or something like that, right? So there are mixed different things. And again, these are just probably still a one set of jobs. There are a lot of other jobs or roles or things that people do across India and across the world. And then probably we'll get to know what's the metrics for that as well. The AI generated content in the world today is supposed to be now 50-50. 50% of the contents, lot of the journalism and other things is now 50% generated by AI and 50% is written by human. So there's a lot of these started coming into us in first so-called as a use at scale, right? But if we have to go into our ecosystem, and since we talk about startups, and so I'll start with you, Jyotish, first, because you represent that, right? Can India AI story, startup story, be built around the three pillars that this event has called planet, progress, and people, and how SMEs can build that innovation and solutions around the India environment, demography, and the economic aspirations?
Thank you, Naveen. This is extremely important topic. To me, AI is in the first phase of its journey. Right? It's not I think I would say probably it is first phase of probably in the next 4 phases or 5 phases to come. AI is now centered around cloud, the LLMs and the models which are tuned for high cost and like energy intensive deployments like server farms. It is very easy. If it is server farms, you can actually put as much cost. It's a centralized compute. So you send all the data to the cloud and wait for the results. So which is a very good initiative. I'm pretty sure the world is benefiting from that. But is that the way going forward? So that is probably the first phase is excellent, and a lot of generative AI models are being generated. People don't care about the compute and the optimization of it. But is that the Indian opportunity, right? Indian opportunity, I feel like, is held somewhere. Of course, India can capitalize that opportunity as well in the form of service sector, creating foundation models and all those things. But when it comes to people, planet, and the progress, probably the Indian opportunity is edge AI. Because when you come to the people problem, then you are worried about privacy. You are worried about the type of data which goes out. And also you want immediate response. The new youth is extremely worried about environment, the cleanness, and also the lot of other things which the AI can solve, which is not getting solved today. AI is right now being utilized primarily for a good search engine and an analytics tool. But it can solve a lot of problems like trash management. It can also be used for activities like, for example, protecting the security, surveillance, better surveillance, without losing data to places which you don't want to send those data to. So these are the opportunities out there when it comes to AI. And we are not tapping it because we are focusing on the cloud. If you focus on domain-specific optimization of AI in the form of optimized devices, optimized deployment, if you focus that, the India opportunities will come up. That is what my point is here.
So you have a chip out already, Jyotis, right? If you have to go like surveillance market, do you have a percentage, is it single degree percentage use of some of these tools or intelligence that has come in, or maybe more proliferation?
Even in the surveillance world, so if you follow the regular pattern, like sending all the videos and all the things to the servers and cloud, and that's what's happening today. And the penalty is you're losing privacy. People, see, look at this way. AI is not, the adoption of AI is very limited today, primarily because people are worried about data, right? And if your approach is not sending everything, of course, you can take benefit of cloud, use the preliminary processing on the device, on premise, make sure that no unnecessary data goes out of your premise, that the adoption will go high. And the opportunity for India, this type of deployment ready platforms are not yet there. It is a brand new domain. It is not a cloud which is already taken care by the big players. When it comes to domain specific, huge amount of opportunities for SMEs and startups. So and it's a big opportunity for India.
So it is still very nascent. And
it is extremely nascent. I would say even 5% is captured.
Okay, fine. Yeah, it's good to hear from you. Before I come to the ecosystem player, Anand, you have a global view of how things are happening. What can India startups or SME learn or adopt from the global AI and the deep tech startups, as well as the deployment that you have seen? Is there an examples from the world that you think can be leveraged or connected here?
I think maybe we start with the uncomfortable truth, right? I don't think there's any Indian deep tech company that is selling at a global scale today, right? Not in the semiconductors, not in the AI model side, right? We have a lot of good examples on the software side, etc., but there's no global deep tech company that is selling at scale. That's the uncomfortable truth. It's not lack of talent, it's not lack of resources, not lack of venture capital at this stage, right? There's enough money in India for everything, right? What we need to think about is a couple of things, right? One is there's almost like a SaaS-like metrics applied to deep tech companies in India. Like everything has to be SaaS, like, can you sell in a year? Can you, do pivot, do fast modeling, faster, right? Deep tech doesn't work that way. It takes 9, 12, 18 months to to make a chip, it takes this one, right? You can't do it in 2 days, right? But there's unnecessary expectations that that is the case, right? We do need to have we need to change our view around how we think about some of the metrics to the deep tech sector, right? That's one. The second thing is if you look globally, right, if we have been investing globally for the last 20 years in deep tech, right? And that's why I keep to the AI and deep tech theme given the ISA thought process here, right? Is there is less thought around when will I sell this company, when will I go IPO, a kind of a mindset on the deep tech, right? You have to go back and say, am I solving a problem at scale that customers want to buy, right? And you also want to think about how do I deploy, how do I integrate it with the overall systems, etc. Right? That takes time, effort, right? The algorithms and hardware and other things are 20% of the thing, right? The hard part is the integration at scale and making it work at scale as well, right? Few lessons from what we have seen, right? For example, we have a joint fund with Korea, we have joint fund with Taiwan. Korea is leading in the whole memory display side and Taiwan obviously on the semiconductor side, right? Is definitely there is a long push towards having a sustainable differentiation that works over a long period of time, right? Building a strong IP stack goes a long way. The second thing that at least we see from other, this one is, they are very well integrated into what the high value problems are. What are the big problems that need to be solved, right? And not at this moment, right? They know about what the high value problems are to be solved 5 years from now, right? So like if you see a lot of photonics companies, they started with saying, hey, data is going to be a bottleneck 5 years from now, right? So that was the thesis we had. So we ended up investing in few companies in IR labs, etc., right? But they have been working on it for a few years, right? If you see the Groks of the world, a big $20 billion acquisition, but they started working on it 5-10 years ago, right? They didn't start today, right? So you have to see what are some big problems that need to be solved or where the bottlenecks are going to be in the next 5-10 years and start building on it, because deep tech is going to take time, but the payoffs definitely are there. And obviously my colleagues here represent some of the companies that have built that scale and worth emulating as well.
Sure. So I think the problem space is still not clearly defined for many of these, right, that you are highlighting. Quick 10-second answer. Do you have any so-called as a promising who is, I mean, I don't need the name, but number 1, 2, 3 companies that you see from India that are already working with you, or still no entry as of now?
No, there is. We have heavily invested in India, and we are going to heavily invest in India. But I think the criteria is the same. So one of the companies that they are at the show today is a company called VVDN. They have gone from significant scale, like they have clearly benefited from a lot of the talent, etc. They have gone from the scale like nobody's business, right? They're taking all the business around the long tail of customers, and I think some of the players here also use them, right? They're a leading provider in the whole EMS and design stack, right? But they are now also building servers, etc. So
True.
That was your 10-second answer.
Okay, good. Thank you, Anand. So Sandeep, now to build all of these, you need what we say is that the compute, for sure, the infra, the funding, the paying customers and all of that. How do you think, what new models, whether it is shared infrastructure, the industry platforms, the government-backed demand aggregation or the grants incentives, how can these unlock the market opportunities for these startups?
So I think when we think of AI, we are all blinded by all the big names, Claude, ChatGPT and such. And these are generally LLMs and which can take text-based inputs or images or videos and give you an analysis. Claude, of course, the Claude Cowork, if you guys are following, they came up with the agentic AI agents which are doing tremendous amount of work and just making life easy for everyone at workplace, at regular corporate level workplaces. I think we are not looking at the manufacturing sector as much today, where they can benefit tremendously. I was just reading a report which said the manufacturing sector is going to, the AI deployment in the manufacturing sector is going to grow at 40% CAGR until 2030. So that's tremendous opportunity. Now, how do we deploy that? How do we get the small-scale industries and the medium-scale industries to adopt that? So, of course, we need startups in that area. And I think the government has some decent schemes which are already there. The biggest barrier, I think I would say one barrier, which we all also have, is kya AI ye bhi kar sakta hai? Right? We don't know what all AI can do today, and we are discovering every day. So imagine a family-owned business which has been doing business in the traditional way. Suddenly, if they want to adopt AI, they don't even know how they can use it. So there has to be tremendous amount of skilling. There has to be easy, cheap infrastructure upgrade options available. So something like what Netra SME is building, IoT devices, which can be deployed easily to monitor the quality of the product, to monitor the machines, raise alarms before the machines go down. So those are a tremendous amount of opportunities for startups using AI and basically deployed at scale across the country. We have thousands and thousands of factories around the country, and we have to do it on a cluster-by-cluster basis, one at a time. There's no other way to do it because everyone else is adopting it around the world, and we have to adopt it as well.
But do you see it as a shared model, as an infrastructure for?
A shared model, yes, because no one company is going to have enough data to train their own AI models, right? So you have to have shared data. And to that effect, the government has also created something called as the AI Kosh, where they are aggregating the data from many industries, many companies together. Of course, they anonymize the data. So a new company coming in can train their data on this existing data. So definitely shared infrastructure. Government is also providing GPU access at affordable rates where companies can now create their own AI agents. So there's a lot of stuff that the government is doing. I just don't think it is, people know about it. And just like ISM is such a big thing, but I think on the manufacturing side, government is doing stuff, but people just don't know about it.
We'll come back to that probably, is that, Preet, you lead innovation, right? So you get to see a lot of, the so-called as a ground level innovation coming up as part of your innovation challenge. And we are talking about this whole AI, which spans all kind of infrastructures and data and everything. So in this development of AI, what do you think is the focus should be, specifically if we have to make the development and deployment is something which is safe or trusted, and then maybe call it responsible or ethical AI?
Yep. Thanks, Naveen, bringing this point. And this is not only true for AI. I would say this is something which is market specific. So let me start with the example. At NXP, we are world leader in automotive semiconductors. Okay, so what if you buy a toy car and if it is not working on day one? What you're gonna do? Probably you'll go back to your vendor and tell that hey, give me a replacement. This guy is not working, or give me a refund. But what if you buy a new car and your braking system or airbag are not working on day one? Can you just think of that? There's a life behind the wheel all the time. And you want that kind of reliability on day one until the end of the life, If the car is, say, for 10 years you're using, on the 10th year, you still expect the airbags to work the way it should be on the day one, okay? So similarly, coming to the context of AI, the deployment of AI, if I need to deploy it in an automotive vehicle, then I expect the same level of, the same level of reliability, same level of trust, okay? Let me give you another example. Naveen was sharing, 40% in financials. Let me talk about healthcare, okay? Suppose if there's some AI in deployment and there's a hospital where we are delivering, say, 10 babies or, say, 100 babies a day. Can you expect even missing a single delivery out of it? We just can't say, hey, you know, AI goofed up and we missed one delivery. No, there's a human life behind it, okay? So depending upon the sector, you know, I would say the trustworthiness or ethics comes into play. Ideally, it should be there. I feel ethics are still underplayed in the whole AI context because, you know, if there are like 10 people in the room, almost probably 8 to 9, you know, out of those 10, either would be using AI as a customer or probably, you know, developing it. But how many of us are working towards the ethics? Let me bring another point here, the biased data, okay? Or we say the data poisoning. Because if you start poisoning this data over the time, the AI or chat GPT is gonna, you know, use this data and give you outcome, okay? I still see a little biased crowd here because we have only a couple of diverse candidates. We say that men at the work. If you're driving typically in India, you'll say, oh, men at work, because women can't work. So if this AI takes, answer out of this, the chat GP picks up this up, it says, okay, men can only work, women can't work. So then the chat GPT is gonna take up a decision which would be gender biased. Because this is something we have seen since our, you know, childhood. We say that this man hours of resources we need. These are humans, you know, that human could be man, woman, or, you know, some other gender. So all this, you know, all these small, minute things needs to be, come into play while we are developing AI. It's for good thing, okay, and all technology has a dark or a light side of it. But at the same time, I think this whole framework of having, unbiased information and check and balances, and then government needs to, play a role, and every single, I would say, individual has to come and, plug into their view from as an individual, as a, SME or MSME or a government or bodies like IESA, where we ensure whatever we are developing is trustworthy, okay? We really want efficiency, we want things before I click, but at the same time, if this is not trustworthy, sorry, I don't need it. Hope that helps.
Sure.
Thank
you.
You.
Good points. So I think we talk about the opportunities in the first round. Let's get into some of the deployment part of it, right? And again, Jyotish, I'll start with you again, right? Most SMEs run on the what we call as the legacy IT machines, the fragmented data, right? And it's the hardest part, right? Probably that you are on the legacy, not on the latest and greatest. Now, if we are building an edge AI or embedded AI infra and all of these together, the models, the compute and the infra together, how do you think we cross this roadblock and enable this deployment across these SMEs and startups?
So I think it's a great problem to solve. Probably the India's opportunity is there, right? So right now the manufacturing firms or SMEs, they don't like AI, for example, is because AI deployment means you have to send all the data out, and you will not have access to this whole big AI model sitting out there. And you really don't know whether AI, and also the cost-wise, is it cost-effective to send all these high bandwidth data and get it processed? And the AWS expenses, the broadband expenses, all those things are almost unaffordable for many of the manufacturing as well as SMEs. So here, my point here is the optimal AI is the way forward. How AI can be optimized for better deployments or cost-effective deployments, and that is when it will really be attractive for SMEs and the manufacturing sector. And it needs, okay, of course, it is not available today. Without sending data, these LLMs will not work. And is that a challenge or is that an opportunity? I would say it is a great opportunity for new developments, new investment on AI. So there are Indian startups and Indian SMEs can invest heavily for tapping this opportunity, the optimal AI opportunity. Right now, it is not the optimal AI opportunity. It's the server farm opportunity, which India has already lost. That is the story, right? Server farm opportunity is there for the players who have already deployed like the huge number of GPUs and electricity and all those things, right? And of course, they will be pushing for India to follow the same line. But is that what India wants? Should we invest on gigatons of electricity? Should we invest on huge foreign exchange? India's choice of AI scale probably is different. We can tap the Indian talent, the demographic dividend, to create a model or optimized models, deployable models, which are good for the Indian industry. And if you do that, what you do? You create huge amount of jobs, which is not the SaaS jobs, of course. It will be product jobs. We can make India a product nation by tapping this opportunity. The opportunity, a new opportunity, which is not tapped by the big players yet. So that is what I would push for. Make AI deployable, make AI optimized so that even small scale manufacturing units can make use of it.
And Anand, you wanted to add?
I agree. I think my assertion is I don't think we are lacking the data centers are the problem statement, right? I don't think algorithms are the problem statement. The GPU compute is I think the fundamental unit that is stopping is the trust, right? How do you trust and how do you build trust into the system, right? Whether we do things like at the edge to build that trust, keep the data at a trust, that's one. The second thing I think we need to really think about is the cost of intelligence is going to go to zero, okay? Right? Now think about it, right? The best companies in the world, they had all access to the best technologies and to people and talent. But now with this whole LLMs or the science foundation models that are coming out or the robotics foundation models that are coming out, the cost of intelligence is really coming down to zero. So the question is, how do you use that and scale and build world-class companies on top of it, right? Because that is no longer, we can't no longer say that, oh, you don't have that, this one, right? So my assertion is it's not, I think AI is going to happen. It's driving things at a scale. The question is, how do you move the discussion from the data center to the manufacturing floor, right? How do you make India the world leader in manufacturing? And that's where ISA and the team here, right, is we need to really think about, right, is how do you bring this, augment the human plus the AI to, like, be world leaders at the manufacturing floor and deploy and create world-class products, right? Because that's an opportunity that nobody has tackled, right? And that's something to think about.
Yeah, so I think we'll build Sandeep and Anand, both of you, right? And then probably you give an Indian context and you give a global, right? What AI use cases are already giving or delivering measurable ROI? And especially if I talk about logistics, manufacturing, whether it's services, right, industrial and all of that. Do you have some examples that you see it around from India, a couple of examples, global, and then can we replicate that to dozens and hundreds and thousands?
Yeah, absolutely. See, I think, as I said earlier, right, one of the biggest problems is people don't know what AI can do for them. And especially the small scale industries, which are legacy ways of operation. So they don't see an ROI. So there's an initial cost. A barrier to entry is high. It may be a few lakh rupees, it may be tens of lakhs of rupees. So they see this, सब कुछ तो अच्छा चल रहा है, क्यों 50 लाख डालूं मैं? So the barrier to entry is high, and I said the government is trying to help over there. But I think more than that, there's a large scale education that needs to happen across the board where people are made aware of what AI can do for them in their manufacturing industry. And reading up on this, what I have seen is inventory management is number one. Basically, you can overstock or you can understock, and to reduce that, inventory costs are high. So to reduce that overhead, AI does a very good job, right? How to make your supply chain extremely efficient. Second is in terms of machine downtime. So if you have good machine monitoring, right? Your machine goes down suddenly, your production stop, you're going to have a huge loss, right? Versus if you can look at energy spikes in your machine, for example, or the amount of vibration that is happening in a machine, that can tell you that your machine is due for maintenance, something's not right, and before the machine goes down, you can repair it. So these are the kind of things where there is a huge ROI. And then the whole logistics, as you mentioned, right? Raw material coming in, it's getting processed through 5 different stages or 10 different stages, and then finally going out as a finished product. Each stage, I mean, we see it in our industry also. The RTL is ready, DV is struggling, or physical design is struggling. So, the data is ready, but there's no one to take it. So that kind of logistics management is also very well handled by AI. And that is the core of how AI can help the manufacturing industry.
Got it. Sure. Anand, some here.
I think at the global scale, we are like every month we are seeing new use cases that is flooring everybody, right? And my prediction is across not just coding, right? People talk about coding, right? But across industries, whether it's software development, whether it is legal, marketing, Marcom, and the whole shebang. Yep. I think the industry is going to get reset by a wide margin, right? Especially entry-level jobs. I really, really worry about kids that are graduating in the next couple of years. Frankly, I have a son in college. I don't even know what to advise him anymore at this stage, right? So specific examples, right? I think given the ISA here, right, is we are seeing a non-linear change in how things that used to take days and weeks, we're able to reduce it down like in physical simulation, right? We're able to reduce it down to like literally hours or minutes, right? You're seeing like close to 1000x improvement in speed of how we are doing physics simulations, right? Plasma simulations, materials discovery. In terms of contract discussion, like it takes nearly a week for the best law firms in India or US, and they charge you arm and length to do so, right? It takes them weeks to turn around and stuff like that. We are able to turn around these things within 15 minutes, and they are able to catch errors which a large team of 10, 12 people are not able to catch, and they're like, oh yeah, we missed that one, right? I think the speed at which this is going, and this is going to have a significant implications on the job market. I think we're underestimating what AI can do today.
Sure. Yeah, I think those are good examples. Preet, coming back to you, right, you brought up that topic again, means I want to just build very concrete actions from there, right? Means AI ethics, yes, acknowledge it's a big problem ahead for us, an opportunity ahead for us. What actions do we take? Or depending on whether it's government role to do that, it's us as industry, or who plays what role in managing this AI ethics?
Yep. So, Naveen, before going there, let me start with each one of us sitting in this room, each one of us at least written one exam in our lifetime. So what we do in that exam, there's a question paper and you attempt to answer to it, okay? Or I would say there's a well-defined problem statement and we, give answer to that well-defined problem statement. Here, the problem statement itself is not well-defined, okay? So the situation where I don't know what I don't know is really killing. And that's where exactly we are when it comes to, AI ethics and, responsible or trustworthy. Who would do it? Who owns that trustworthiness? Who owns that certification of, this is a responsible AI model, you should use it. That one is not responsible, okay? So, and the contexts keep on changing. And since I come from, automotive semiconductor background, let me give you a, example, and that's in Indian context, okay? There's an autonomous vehicle on the road, and the situation is such that there is a cow and a buffalo on the road. Which one you will hit? And you need to, at the end of it, one has to be, hit it out. So now the question comes, which state of India you are driving, So it's not, that the one size or one contact fits it all. Within this, demography of India, which state you are driving would decide whether you need to hit a cow or a buffalo. And now we are talking about an AI which is globally accepted, globally trustworthy or globally ethically correct. Okay, so it's like one size doesn't fit all. So it has to be, probably either domain specific, sector specific, or region specific. Something which works everywhere in India, but may not be in this particular state part of it. And US is not different. If you go US, the driving laws are different in one state to other state. If you're driving in Texas, the laws are, say, 50 miles per hour, but if you go to Florida, things would change. Okay, no bias to the present president of US, but things are different already, these are there in the books, okay? So now coming back to, how do we solve this problem? So this has to be solved first at the concept level. I talk about safety and security because functional safe is the best thing in automotive. And so do it applies to AI, that by concept, security, safety, or trustworthiness has to be there. It should not happen so that I have developed something and now I start making it secure. So it's like you have constructed a beautiful home and at the end of it you said, oh well, I need to safeguard it. What you'll do? You put a big iron gate at the entrance, okay, so that no one can get into the house. But let's assume someone get inside the house already, then you need to secure every single room, okay? Let's assume someone gets into the room as well, with some authentication. Then you want to safeguard that metallic locker which is sitting in everyone's home. So same goes with AI's trustworthiness and I would say ethics, that it has to be with consent at every single level. And then this needs to be monitored throughout the end of its life. It's not that you have some ethics or some safety norms, being deployed today. It is trustworthy on 1st January 2026. What happens 1st January 2030 or 35? Things might change. The world is evolving. The technology is rapidly growing. So there should be check and balancing throughout the phase of this, I would say the AI deployment, I call it as a product. It's not only, because what is true today might not be true tomorrow.
True.
Okay. And it's responsibility of every single individual, as a user as well. Because if as a user I find a loophole and I'm little biased towards one particular community or one particular, technology domain, I'll not raise the voice. Okay. So there should be an open feedback forum. There should be an open mechanism where anyone or everyone can give, that okay, this is something I find not trustworthy. It could be a trustworthiness otherwise in the other part of it. Okay, so this has to be from the concept till end of the light, and all the check and balances, and then government has to play a important role, because ultimately why we don't most of the, if you see the youngsters, they said, oh, we'll need to put the seat belt or put in a helmet because there could be cops on the on the external roads, but internally that works because internally there would be nothing. So this this mandate should not be enforced, but there has to be check and balances. There should be some policies around it, but policies are good, laws are meant not to be broken, but at the same time, every individual has to be responsible, adopting and giving a fair judgment.
Yeah.
I'll stop here.
I need to remind Preet, the Waymo works in California, Texas, and Arizona. So I think people are adopting and making it work.
True. Okay, we'll come to the audience. We can have few questions there. You can raise your hand, introduce yourself, ask a question, and please ask which panelist you are asking that for. And please questions only, not comments.
Good morning. My name is Arun Sharma. I work for a company called Aryan Electricals. And the question is, in this title of AI at scale, there is a race to deploy AI at the fastest. But the basic thing which for last 3 days I'm attending these events, in other domains like telecom or anything, the standardization is done first. People sit down together, what is to be done? This has not been talked so far. What could have been the reason? The question is for Naveen.
For me?
Because you are
Sure.
you are
I mean, you're supposed to ask questions, not answer them.
Yeah. So point is, like, I think we are doing the two things both parallel. We see an opportunity and we have started to go and start building the infra and then the upper layer and then finally the use case and the applications. And while we are figuring out saying what comes out as a standards versus what kept as a loophole. And I think same thing existed for some time in other, like if you go back to the mobile, 5G, even the first version of data center that came in, right? There was this about like, means even take for example, right? We started as GPU, as the so-called as the compute was all GPU. We slowly started figuring out that it's not feasible, cost, power, many other angles. And we started going into saying like, what are other use cases? And then based on that, then start coming into saying cloud versus edge and all of that. So I think we are more in exploration, very early exploration still. And as we move forward, some of this will start becoming a guardrails or a standards or a policy or something that will happen. So I think we are on that journey right now, rather than trying to say that this is how it would be.
Maybe I can add to that. So the Indian government actually can do a lot of things, right? Even some of the rules set the growth, right? One of the rules which is probably good for the society is privacy and security could be one of the biggest pillars, right? That itself could create a huge growth, India-centric growth for the industry, right? The moment you put security as one of the paramount thing for surveillance, think about the opportunities in SMEs and the startups which can create, because a new set of platforms need to evolve and a new set of chips needs to evolve, a new set of solutions need to come up, and even integration jobs need to be revised. And India can do all those things because even though we are a rapidly growing nation, we are still at the early stage. So this is a good time for setting the rules.
Right. Okay, there's a question here.
Hi, my name is Karthik. I'm a lawyer. My question is to the full panel. At the lower level in the legal circle, it's actually quite easy to see where AI can help. In fact, I would say that at the lower level, we can completely replace all lawyers. But the problem is that liability insurance is something that only a human being can take. So how is it that we can scale at the lower levels without a liability insurance being provided? Because no ChatGPT or anyone will take liability insurance on behalf of their agents or on behalf of the app being deployed. So my question is in that context.
I don't know. I don't think any of us is qualified enough to talk about this, but when you say liability insurance on behalf of the lawyer or on behalf of the tool?
On behalf of the lawyer, because if a lawyer is being replaced by a tool, a client can't sue the tool, right? He can sue a lawyer for making error in judgment or providing wrong information, right?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has an answer to this, but it's like whether you trust, when a Tesla auto drive crashes, who do you sue? Do you sue Tesla or do you sue the driver sitting in the car who's not got his hands on the steering wheel? Probably we can take lessons from there, but maybe Anand, if you have any comments?
I love my Tesla. I drive it without thinking from work to home every day, and I don't drive, right? So, but the end of the day, if I get into a crash, my wife reminds me, boss, you'll pay for it. So you are responsible. I think see the liability, there'll still be a law firm. The question is, does it need 10,000 people in that law firm, right? Answer is clearly a no at this stage, right? That's what the impact is. There will be somebody who will take liability for it, people will get paid for it, and people will figure out that mechanisms for it. Same thing, you drive into or have the Waymo drop you versus an Uber driving you, right? End of the day, if the Waymo crashes, Google is bearing it to some extent. I think people are figuring it out. I'm saying that is not going to hold up the system, right? I think a lot of people think that, all these issues are going to hold up things. There's so much free-flowing happening right now. I don't think there's any stoppage around how this is going to affect the job market.
The only way I'll add to that is that when we also, like, means I come from the chip design, I generate some things from these AI tools, but I don't use it as it is. Human in the loop is always a constant thing across all of that. So I go and validate that, probably build on that, and then go ahead and do it, because if that software, if that piece of design does not work, finally it's on me. Okay. I think maybe we'll just last question, very quick, okay. Right? And then.
Hi, sir. My name is Yash. I'm a student. I'm a tech guy also. So my question is in the part on the data centers, because as you told about the security part, most of the banks and BFSI sector, they already on the part of the on-premises data center because they don't want to lose their data. But in the part, if you building a data center in India, and how you can provide the global access. The reason is that like in AWS or GCP and that kind of things you're saying, they are available in global regions. But in Indian data centers, if they are building, how we can access that data at US also in that efficient way? Because if you loading something in your servers, it's within a second, within a micro and millisecond. How we can go ahead in that part if you're building data center in India, and how we can scale it at commercial level, at the global level?
Good. Sandeep, you want to start, and we'll quick answer, I think.
Yeah, quick answer. I think all of that is built into the system from the day. I mean, there's Yota who's building a lot of data centers across India. They build that into the system, which is basically they look at the latency of response. And data is available everywhere, just like GCP or AWS or Azure. The latency is the #1 consideration for the time of response. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But any development
and the hybrid compute model is the way to go, because it can be a shared compute model where some the sensitive data could be processed in premise and metadata could go out, right? So there are.
Yeah. So we'll probably give you an answer later as well. But if the global data center does it, any data center that comes in India, from India, for India to global will also replicate that and make it work. So the problem is kind of solved, and we'll have to replicate that. Okay. But thank you, everyone. I know the time is up. Quickly, just to summarize, right, I think all of us believe AI is here for us to leverage not just for writing code or generative contents, but also to take up to our manufacturing and the MSE sector. There are a lot of grants, subsidies, policies that the government of India has enabled through part of the India AI mission. I only heard one feedback saying, how do we make people aware of it, that these policies are available, as well as AI can solve some things. Probably that's something is an opportunity to go and add to that. But we need to go beyond data center to edge, leverage this, take it beyond with less connectivity, much smaller model, solve that. Have a specific problem to solve rather than trying to think of exit and the IPO. And then as we do it, we need to do it in a sustainable and an ethical way. So that's the summary of the discussion that we had. Thank you, everyone, once again, and good luck for the rest of the day.
Thank you.